I know, I know. It's been a long time since you've heard from us at Wall Street Studios. Life happens and things got busy. But I don't want you to think that I forgot about you. I have been itching to get this video out for some time. So here we are today, ready to talk about lenses. And I'm sure many of you have seen reviews of specific lenses and favorite lenses. That's not what this is. Though I am going to use Sony lenses as my primary example because I am a Sony shooter. But really what we're going to be talking is about the basics of lenses. If you're somebody that's new to a DSLR camera and you've just bought your first camera with interchangeable lenses, then this video is for you. So let's get right into it. Lenses do come in all shapes and sizes and brands, and each of them has their own different use. First, we're going to talk about those mysterious millimeter marks. See, when you hear 16 millimeter, 20 millimeter, 35, 50, 85, they're referring to the focal length of the lens. Without getting too much into the definition of what focal length is, all you need to really know is when those numbers are higher, you're going to look through the lens and you're going to see that you're closer to your subject. You have a narrower field of view. The smaller the number, the wider the lens. For example, this is a 20 millimeter lens that I'm shooting on right now, a Sony lens, and it gives me a really wide view of my office space. You'll probably have heard this type of lens being referred to as a wide angle lens. Now, the opposite of that is a telephoto lens. So your viewing angle is narrower and closer. The focal length closest to the human eye is a 50 millimeter lens. Beyond that's when you start getting into 85 millimeter, 135, 200s, you're going to be getting closer and closer and closer to your subject when looking through the camera using that kind of lens. The thing you'll notice is with some of these lenses, they only have 1 millimeter value on there. So it'll say 16 millimeter, 50 millimeters, where others will say 28 to 75 millimeter. That's because the ones that only have one number, those are called prime lenses, and they only have one focal length. Whereas the others are zoom lenses, meaning you can go from 70 to 200, which is really versatile, as it means you have to carry less lenses around with you because it covers a whole range of focal lengths in between. So you can go 70, you can even get really minute, you're 71.5 millimeters away. But there is a trade-off. Zoom lenses tend to have not the best aperture f-stop values, or the best, they tend to have sometimes more distortions, which brings me to the next number. On the lens, there's another number, which is led by the letter F, and this is your f-stop value. Like focal length, the smaller the number, the more light that comes into the lens, and the more pleasing, soft focus, creamy bokeh background. That's the effect you get when you have that smaller number. Sometimes you'll hear how a camera lens is fast. This is referring to f-stops. It's a fast lens. It's because we're talking about, it transmits more light because it has a wider aperture. It has a better f-stop value. It does not refer to the speed or of your camera, the shutter, or how fast you take the picture, none of that. So when you're looking to find a great lens, the general rule is to look for a lens with that lower f-stop number, 1.8s or 2.4s or 2.8s. These are generally fast lenses that'll give you great results. They'll give you that nice separation. The higher that number goes means the less light that's actually going to go into the lens, and the less of that creamy background separation effect, like you can see here, that you're gonna get. Things will be definitely more in focus, but you're not gonna have that sort of sense of depth. Another thing to note is when you're looking at a lens is that f-stop number. When we talk about that value, we're talking about the initial value, so the lowest the number can go. So this lens here is a f1.8, but if you turn that aperture ring, it can go to f22. So you can make your lens sharper, but you're going to lose brightness as you make that change. You're going to lose the creamy background effect as you make that change. So it's just something to note. Now, if you're looking at something like, well, a specialty lens like this one here, this is a probe lens, you're gonna really need a lot of light. This lens comes at its lowest f-stop is f14. So this one even has little lights on the end because you have to really light up your subject just to make sure you can see what you're looking at. This probe lens is one of my favorite lenses because it's kind of a wide angle and a macro lens. And a macro lens just means you can get really close up to your subject. So when you see pictures of, you know, like mosquitoes and butterflies that are really up close, or when you see plants where you can see the cells inside the leaf, that's the kind of lens that'll give you this effect. This one's a little bit different. It's a little more specialized because it is still sort of a wide angle. So it gives you this really unique view of kind of going through spaces and environments that you normally wouldn't use. If you've seen some of our other posts or some of our other videos, like the one we did with the fish tank decoration, or the one where I used the marble run, that was shot using this lens, and you're getting really close and intimate with your subject while giving a lot of sense of the environment with it. So it's kind of a cool lens to play with and have fun with. Now, one other breed of lens is the cinema lens, which is really meant for high-end commercial production work. They have things like gears. They measure light in T-stops instead of F-stops, which I won't get into, but if anyone wants to know more about that, then feel free to reach out to me in the comments below, but we'll kind of move on from them. We just got to know that they're for big productions, and they're actually quite expensive. I'm talking like thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. One of the last numbers you'll see on your lens is denoted by this symbol. What that is referring to the diameter of the lens and what type of filter size it will accommodate. So filters like this one here, you know, this is a variable ND filter. So you'll see a number that has that symbol and 67 next to it, or 0 and 77, or 0 and 82. So that's the size of the filter that will fit your actual lens. Now let's talk about lens mount. Different camera systems, different companies are going to use different mounts. Canon has EF and RF mounts, while Nikon has their F mount and Z mount, and Sony used to have A mount, and really now it has E mount. You will need to choose the right lens for your sensor as well. Is it for an APS-C size sensor, a micro four thirds sensor, a full frame sensor? Those are things you're going to need to know. I'm not going to get into all the different sensor sizes, but you know, generally speaking, if you're buying a camera, it'll tell you what sensor you're looking for. Generally speaking, your lenses are the most expensive investment you make when you purchase an interchangeable camera system. They tend to cost more than the camera itself, but it's really up to you. Ask yourself, what kind of shooter are you? If you are a real casual shooter who is just shooting family and friends, you know, your birthday photos, those kind of things, then a standard zoom lens might be the thing for you. But if you are really into your craft, you're looking to really pull all the stops, then you're going to be spending some money on lenses. I think I hear my wallet crying in the distance. Until next time.